Hey everyone, my name's Walter, and I'm back here with more stories from Reddit. Today we're returning to Reddit Relationships, the place to ask for advice about what to do in relationships. They don't have to be romantic relationships, by the way. It can be your friends or family, too. And there's a few other subreddits with similar stories that I might be using as well. But anyway, let's begin with crazy stories from Reddit Relationships. This one came out about 3 months ago and was pretty insane. The toilet chicken. If you don't know what a toilet chicken is, it's exactly what it sounds like. Let's get into it. My 22 male girlfriend, 23 female, is mortified and enraged because I thawed the frozen chicken up in the toilet. The top part, not the bowl part. So we were going to have a chicken for dinner, but the chicken was frozen. I read online that a good way to thaw meat quicker is to submerge it in water, bagged up in Ziploc or whatever. Sure, sounds good. Only we didn't have a bowl that could fit the chicken. Or did we? I remembered that the water in the top section of the toilet is clean. I am not talking about the toilet bowl itself. The top part that stores water. It's clean. So I removed the lid and I double-bagged the frozen chicken and I submerged it into the top part of the toilet. Some water overflowed to the ground, but I cleaned it up. I put the lid back on. Boom. Done. When my girlfriend came home, I thought she'd be impressed by my solution. I told her the chicken was thawing, but forgot to tell her where it was thawing. Suddenly I heard her shouting in the bathroom. That's when I realized my blunder. She must have flushed the toilet, and when the top refilled it overflowed a bit again because of the chicken in the toilet. Oh jeez. I opened the door just as she was lifting the lid on the toilet top and seen the chicken. I began to apologize for not telling her, but suddenly she became irrationally and stunningly livid. I was dismayed and astonished. I tried to explain, but I could hardly get a word in. I went to feel the chicken to see how thawed it was, and said it needed maybe another hour, and she said she would never eat the chicken. Now I was more shocked than ever. Why would she not eat the chicken? It was perfectly fine. The water is clean, and besides, it's in 2 layers of bag. I explained this to her perfectly, but she wouldn't listen. I cooked the chicken up later and she would not have any of it. She ordered takeout to be spiteful. We are currently not speaking, but I would like to work this out with her. Before you post, also please make sure you are thinking of the toilet chicken with rationality and not pure emotion. If we look at the actual logic, we can see there is nothing wrong with thawing a chicken or other meats in the top part of the toilet. It is literally no different from putting it in any other bowl of clean water. Please, I am begging you to understand that before you comment. Please. God, the bathroom should probably just not be involved in your preparation of food. I know it's not shit water in that tank, but this would probably bother the vast majority of people. Now, despite his pleas for people to see logic, they still didn't seem to think he was right in the comments. The top comment. You don't have a sink? Fuck. He was so proud of coming up with his toilet solution, which was just sidestepping a much more obvious and, shall we say, logical solution. My mom had to thaw a turkey in a hotel bathtub once. The guy actually keeps defending himself too. Yes, it was covered in 2 bags, blah blah blah. Still gross. Surely thawing it out in a bowl would have been more logical. If you bothered to read my short post with small paragraphs, you might have seen that I didn't have a large enough bowl. Another user pointed out I should have tried the sink first, which did not occur to me at the time. I wish I had thought of that. However, I maintain that logically, I am in the right because the part of the toilet where I put the chicken is perfectly clean. I love how you continue to jerk yourself off for how logical you are, but couldn't logic your way to figuring out that normal people thaw meat out in the kitchen sink. A lot of people are also saying you should have used the microwave. Anyway, if you have something to say about the toilet chicken, let me hear it in the comments. But only if you can keep logical about it. This next one is infuriating and comes to us from Reddit Just No Mother-in-Law, which is a place to complain about your mother-in-law, I guess. I got rid of a dog my mother-in-law got for my kids against my wishes. Someone told me I should post this here, so here goes. Plus I changed the title since this was on Am I the Asshole, and I don't think it's necessary here. So my mother-in-law has a thing of spending a lot of money on any of her grandkids, and is spoiling them. To me, I feel like whatever she buys is too much for them, and their toys or clothes clutter up the house. I have brought this up with my husband and he has spoken to his mom, but she just calls it unconditional love and I need to loosen up. My husband and I aren't trying to teach our kids to be spoiled, and I hope they get everything they want, but my mother-in-law has made it a regular thing and doesn't know when to stop. Recently, she was over at our house when my older kids started talking about a pet again, something that has been discussed, but because my kids want a dog, but myself and my youngest child are extremely allergic to dogs, so it's not an option. They are having difficulty choosing another animal. My mother-in-law knows about my allergy and still had a conversation with my kids about in the end she said to them, "You might just have to wait and see what happens." This caused my kids to be extremely excited. I already knew where this was going, so I told my mother-in-law to not even think about what I knew she would do. Well, on Wednesday, she texted while I wasn't home and told me to check the backyard when I got home. So I did. There was a fucking border collie in my backyard. This woman had unlocked my side gate and dumped the dog in the backyard. I was pissed. I called my mother-in-law to have her come pick it up, but she refused, so I had to call my husband, and he called a friend to come get the dog. My mother-in-law then had the audacity to show up later on that afternoon when my older kids were home from school, and pointedly have my kids look outside. When she saw the backyard was empty, she got extremely angry and started demanding in front of my kids what I did with the dog. This made my kids upset and I had to send them out of the room before I told my mother-in-law off for doing such a thing when she knew, especially for me, my allergies were extremely bad with a dog around. She then went off to yell at me for being selfish and how I had now upset my kids. I even told her they wouldn't be upset if she hadn't brought it. She tried to argue more and say I'm being a bad mother, but I ended up kicking her out of my house. I did end up having to explain to my kids what actually happened, and it broke my heart to tell them, but I felt like it needed to be done. Later on into the night when my husband came home, he told me his mom called him and told him what happened, and he isn't too happy with the way I handled things with his mom, and has been a bit angry with me since. Am I the asshole for getting rid of the dog? Edit, I did not expect this many people to respond, so thank you, and this has helped me a lot. One thing I would like to clarify is that my husband is not by any means mad about me not keeping the dog. Or like people say, not thinking about mine or my youngest allergy. This is honestly about him being mad about the conversation with his mom, which still he shouldn't be. You know, my mom recently got a puppy and just realized she had forgotten how much work it is. A dog isn't something that you should take lightly, like you could just gift it to someone. There's so many ways in which this sucks. Undermining the parents' authority, trying to make them out to be the villains afterward, and this is just normally. She just ignored these horrible allergies that are the reason they don't want a dog. Gotta love it when you say to someone's face not to do something and they just ignore you. I'm sure our resident dog people loved that story. I think we have time for one more though. Okay, strap yourselves in because this last one is significantly more infuriating. And longer too. Hey guys, throwaway account here, just wanted to get some honest feedback on what we should do. Growing up, my sister and us were extremely close, but over the years, as we got older, we both noticed how badly she would treat our mom, who was a single mom, and how she would often side with Mom's family in discussions, usually revolving around Mom's decision to raise us alone. Note, my brother and my dad died when Mom was 7.5 months pregnant. It all hit a breaking point when we turned 18. My sister and our birthdays are in the same week, so there was always talk about a joint 18 and 21st birthday for us. We never had an issue with this. At first we were all for the idea, but when the party started getting planned, our mom was left out of it all. And our aunt, let's call her Jane, stepped in and took over it all. We had no idea at the time, we were barely 17 at this stage, that they had already started planning it. Only found out when our sister, let's call her Grace, called us, which was rare to get a message from her, asking us if they could be reimbursed for the money they have spent on the party. We had a trust account set up from when our dad's life insurance was paid out to us, and we agreed to it. Asked Mom if she knew about the party, and she said no. A month before the party, we get down to the main point. Guest list. The room, which my brother and I paid for, could only hold 120 people. We were expecting to have a roughly even split of the guest list, 35 each for us, 50 for her. But when we saw the list, it was 90% her friends and family we don't speak to, only giving us 15 spaces, roughly 2 tables to use. We were pissed, but she screamed at us, calling us insensitive and ungrateful for everything she has done for us growing up. Note, she has done nothing for us, we just loved her. So we relented and took what we could. Knew it was a losing battle. A week before the party, at our grandma's house, our family, Nan, step-granddad, aunt, uncle, sister, and her boyfriend, got a bit drunk and started going on about how bad of a mum ours was, and how she's done so many things wrong, but what pissed us off the most was when our Nan said, "I bet you at your party she will be holding her head up high, claiming glory for the parenting we done, not her." That one comment was enough to make my brother and I leave, quite angrily. The night of the party wasn't too bad. The family kept their mouths shut, and we actually had a decent time, until the slideshow started, and out of about 300 photos, was about 15 minutes long, there were 10 photos of my brother and I. The rest was of our sister, our youngest cousin, auntie's kid, and her boyfriend's family. Many at this party had no idea it was our birthdays as well, until the cake was cut. They came up to us afterwards and said happy birthday. My brother and I eventually snuck away with our mom and went to the pub to have our own birthday toast with just us and our mates. Not long after, my brother and I went to uni, and our contact with the family was limited to a few messages a month. We tried to keep in contact, but they wanted nothing to do with us. Ugh, this has to be one of the all-time worst families. When the time came for our 21st birthday, our sister and family were back in contact with us, partially because our trust account was being released when we were 21, under the guise of planning a big birthday party for us. We told them we didn't want one, just wanted a quiet night in with Mom and our close mates, but they wouldn't hear of it. We ended up missing the big party they planned for us. It was on a weeknight and we were still at uni in another state, so we copped a lot of heat from the family about that. But after a week it went from, "You're an ungrateful cunt," to, "Hey, when are you both coming back down? Should go out for dinner." So we made the plans and came back. Dinner went as we expected it to, as it always does. A good hour of them bashing Mom and her parenting, then taking credit for the fact that we were in uni. Brother is studying law, I'm in medicine and sport. And how it was because of their influence we have come this far. Complete bullshit. But the night really hit a good note when Grace said, "Hey, so the trust account comes out soon. We knew this was coming. Just wanted to make sure if I could have some, cause Shane and I are looking at moving out from his parents' house and we need about $30,000 for a deposit." We both just said we will get back to you and left. For the next week we got phone call after phone call asking us if she could have the money. Ultimately, after chatting to our mom who told us we didn't have to give her anything, she had her own account and went through it quickly. We called Grace and told her that we are not going to just give her the $30,000, but we would lend it to her. Make her sign something and receive payments, and to cover us legally should she not pay us. She was furious, called us ungrateful cunts and hung up. We didn't speak to her for a good 3 years. Last year we got a phone call from her telling us she was getting married to her deadbeat boyfriend. He is unemployed, 30, and hasn't had a job that lasts more than a month because he hates doing things. And she wanted $50,000 from us to pay for the wedding and honeymoon. We were taken aback by it. We said that we would meet her to go over things and a possible payment plan, not just going to give her $50,000 when she hasn't spoken to us in years. She yelled at us over the phone and hung up on us. A few weeks later, we had a visitor at our mom's place. We were home for a few weeks. Uni was on break. It was the lady in charge of the flowers for the wedding. She said our sister had given us this address to discuss payment with us. We had no idea about this, and told the lady that we had no idea what she meant. We never agreed to this, and that we were very sorry she wasted her time. She apologized to us and left. An hour later, we got a phone call from Grace, calling us, yet again, ungrateful cunts and how we are ruining her wedding by being selfish, so we hung up on her. Isn't it such a disconnect having someone named Grace who acts like this? Her name's like the opposite of who she is. In the last couple of months, we have had several businesses call us, wanting to discuss payment for things and services they have given Grace. One was a wedding planner who wanted $6,000. We told them that they should take it up with Grace, not us. Can you imagine the sheer amount of audacity it takes to demand $50,000 from someone you barely even talk to? For not only your wedding, but your honeymoon. They don't even like her fiancé. I'm not going to piss on someone I hate if they're on fire, let alone finance their expensive wedding and honeymoon. God, do weddings bring out the worst in people or what? Recently, our family from overseas, our dad's family, have been in contact with us, telling us how disappointed they are in us and how we are upsetting our sister. We haven't said anything to them about Grace and the wedding and her wanting us to pay for it all, so we were taken aback by this. Told them what had been going on and they apologized to us. The next day we got a call from Grace who was fuming, more so than usual, about how we poisoned the family against her. By this stage I was fed up with her being selfish, so I yelled back, "They aren't even your family, they are ours. He was our dad, not yours. We have different dads. Hers punched Mum through a cupboard when she was pregnant with Grace. After I said that, I knew I went too far. She started screaming and crying and hung up. Mark, my twin, just hugged me and said fuck her. It's been 3 weeks since that phone call. We have had the majority of Mum's family get in touch with us, mainly to yell at us, calling us every name under the sun. Grace's fiancé has told us if he sees us, he will get us. He has ties with a bikie gang here and was a drug dealer for a bit, so we are a little shaken by that. We have spoken to the police, but since it was all over the phone, with no physical proof, there is nothing that can be done. What should we do in this situation that we haven't already done? Should we just back down and give in just to get some peace, or should we stick to our guns and risk possibly getting hurt in the process? Update. Thanks to everyone who has commented on this post. We were not expecting such a large number of comments and helpful suggestions, so thank you everyone. Hugs. Based off a lot of suggestions, we are changing our numbers and keeping the old ones in case they call us and leave a voicemail, which we can use if things go south. And we are going to look into our security in the bank and a fixed term deposit to protect the bulk of our money. I promise to update again soon. Sadly, there was never actually an update. I really hope these people got away from their family. Having an extended family is not worth half of this headache. If they make your life worse, you should probably just stop bothering with them. I also can't exactly imagine going out to eat with someone a few weeks after they left a message calling me an ungrateful cunt. Don't do that to yourself. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments if you have something to say. And remember, I do accept stories on my Discord. I don't check that often, but I have used submissions in the past, if you'd like to tell a story. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you have something to say, let me hear it in the comments. These stories are total comment bait, I know. I'm very selective with stories, otherwise I'd upload more often. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you can be part of me finally hitting 20k subscribers. For the second time. But it's still an achievement, kind of. Maybe I'll do a special for it. I'd also like to thank my epic patrons, who give me money every month so I can not worry about demonetization as much. I try to shout them out once a week, but let me thank new patron, Petulant Panda. Thank you all so much for the help. There will be more content soon, just have to figure out what first. Have a great night, everyone, and remember that you have a sink next time you think about using the toilet to thaw something.